Okay then, so we've seen how when we click on these links, Vue intercepts the requests to get those new routes, and it just replaces the component for the page really quickly, and that happens where this router view tag is. Now the reason it can intercept those requests is because we're using a special tag, and that is a view tag called router link. We're not using anchor tags right here. Now this router link tag has a to attribute to say where we want to go to, and that is the path, and that's a bit like the href in an anchor tag. Then we have some text, and then we close off the router link. So this is the reason that Vue can intercept those requests, because we use these special tags with that behavior built into it. If we were to use an anchor tag instead and say the href was /about, for example, we'll say about right here, then this wouldn't work the same way, because this would just send a fresh request to the server and Vue would not intercept it because it doesn't have that behavior built into it. This one has that behavior of intercepting the request built into it. I can demo this. Let me come to the browser and open up the network tab, choose network, and this is going to show any network requests. Now if I click on home, we don't see a network request for another HTML page, only for the logo. If I go to about, we don't see a new one, and I can go back and forth and we only see network requests for this image right here, not new pages. Now then, if I click on this about one right here, notice we get all these new requests. One of them is going to be for an HTML page, one of them is going to be for app.js and other things as well. So Vue is not intercepting this thing, and that is why we use router links instead. That is much faster, and it just changes the component rather than going to send a new request to the server. Now, as well as intercepting these requests, there's also other benefits to using router links as well. First of all, let me save this and head to the browser, and I'm going to go to Elements over here so we can see, and I'm going to inspect this one. And notice, by the way, when it renders to the DOM, it is still just an anchor tag, but it has that built-in functionality under the hood. Now, notice when we click on one of these, the active one becomes green. And that's because they get these classes automatically. You can see router link active and router link exact active. Okay, so we can style active classes or active links easily as well. And those styles are applied right here. Now I'm just going to change this a little bit just to customize it. And I'm going to say that the color of these should be white. And instead, I'm going to apply a background of crimson. Like so. Save that and preview, and now we can see that is the style of an active link. I also want to change this style a little bit as well. So nav A, we're going to say text decoration is none to remove the underlining, and then give it a bit of padding, 10 pixels, and then we'll also, oops, let me just change that to a colon. We'll also say border radius is 4 pixels to soften the corners. Check this out again, and cool, that looks pretty nice. So that is just another benefit of using router links. Now another benefit of using these router links is that we can data bind to this to attribute right here. So I could say :2, and then instead of hard coding the path right here, I could pass in an object which represents this route. And then I could say the name of the route I want to go to is about. Now, this is going to work exactly the same way because it's going to look at this object and see that the name is about. And if we take a look at our router file, we have a name property right here. So it matches against whatever name we place here, and it uses that component. So what's the benefit of this? It works the same way, and I'm going to show you this. If I click these, it still works the same way. But what's the benefit of using this? Well, if you think about it, your routes, your paths might actually change over time. For example, you might decide in the future, well, actually, it's not going to be about, it's going to be about us. Now, if that was the case, you'd have to go through the rest of your website and update all of your router links if you coded them to /about, and you'd update them to about us. But if you don't use that way and you instead use this way of passing through an object and data binding to the to attribute, you don't need to change a thing because it's still called the same name over here. It's still called about. it doesn't matter that this is changed because we're using the name instead now. So that's another way of using a router links, and for the most part we'll be using this in the future for our projects. Alright then, so there's one more thing I want to do in this lecture, and that's just to remove any content that we don't really need for this project. So I'm going to go to the home component first of all, and I'm going to delete the hello world component. We don't need that, and in fact we can go into components and delete that as well because we won't be using it. And inside this div at the top we can just do an H1 to say home page, and then below that I'm going to do some lorem ipsum, so paragraph tag, then I'll say lorem and how many words I want, 100, press tab to create that, and then duplicate it, so we've got a couple of paragraphs right here of lorem ipsum. We can also remove hello world from the components right here. Okay, so that's the home page, and if we go to the about page, I'm just going to add some lorem ipsum right here as well. Lorem 100, tab, and duplicate. Save that, and let's view this in a browser. Over here we have the home and we have about. Now it's not picking up the change in content, so I'm going to hard refresh this page and now we see it. And finally I'm just going to change the URL back to about because I don't want it to be about us. So let's do that. Save it, and that's pretty much everything for now. So next up I'm going to talk a little bit more about folder structure and this views folder right here.